and welcome back. In the previous episodes of this 10 to 2 masterclass series, we covered the start position, how to get the gada up in position prior to the swing, the rear pendulum to gain confidence and feeling for the movement, especially in the back position of the exercise, where it feels like your shoulders are in a place of compromise. It's important to get strong there and to be confident there. And we've worked up to the 360. Simpler than the 10 to 2. You come up and it basically teaches you the feeling of the swing from the dead stop of inertia all the way through and stopping. Now we're going to work up finally to the 10 to 2 itself. And how we're going to do that? We're going to break it down as we did before with the other exercises. We're going to start from simplest to the most complex. So to begin with, we've learnt all the ways to launch, starting position, rear pendulum. We'll start in the 360. And from here, we're going to go to the left. You come through, stop, as per normal. Now this time, we're going to reverse the direction, opposite way. So what we're doing is we're changing the direction and getting used to going in our offside. My offside being my right hand going right side. Feels less comfortable than going to the left side of my right hand on the top. And you'll practice this until you get a feeling for it. Remember the teaching points, come down and come through. And concentrate on the feeling. What does it feel like? And let that become ingrained in your training. Again, you can choke up if it becomes too difficult. What you want to work on is the left and right movement. You're going to be fairly stable to begin with, but then we're going to build up and start bringing more of a diagonal angle when you do the 10 to 2 itself. So from there, we're going to start doing the 10 to 2 properly. The important difference with the 10 to 2 and the 360 I just showed you, going left and right, is the angle that you come in at. With the 360, you come in and you're pulling in here. The 10 to 2, you're coming up over the shoulder in a diagonal. To illustrate the point, this is the position you should be in when you've completed a repetition of the 10 to 2. Admittedly, the weight should not be rested on the shoulder, it should be just slightly off, lightly touching the shoulder at most. Hands down near the midline, and you'll see this distinct angle. The head is over my shoulder, and this is an important point. And this is what makes the distinction between the 360 left and right and the 10 to 2. The position of the weight will be either at the 10 or the 2. 2 and 10, I believe, I'm not sure, it might be backwards. But it's 10 to 2, imagine a clock, you've got 10 and 2, that's where you want to imagine that the head's going to be. Also note where the head is in relation to my head. The head should be fairly close to the shoulder, not up here, out in space, here, so it's nice and tight. This is a problem, especially with the longer maces. The weights tend to be out here. That doesn't give you sufficient control and it doesn't give you sufficient power. The weight is now here, it's doing all the work for you. With the weight closer to you, but not too close, you gain more power and you gain more control. You'll see that whipping action when you come through, which is beneficial for grappling arts. So, we come up and start in the 360 position, and we're going to turn to the left. I'm going to come into a diagonal on the other side. I'll try and do it as slow as possible so you can see. So you go, and you come into this diagonal. Now I'm going to reverse it into the opposite side. You come down. Here, there's a slight bounce. You absorb the force, coming down, let it go down. And you'll see my whole body is moving, not just my upper body. The better you get at the exercise, the more you can throw your body into it. You'll see my head's turning to the side. As I lean away from the head, my head's turning. What this is doing is it's shortening the distance the weight has to travel. Also remove my head out of the equation, so I don't hit myself in the back of my head. Again, using the opposite grip this time, because I like to bounce it out. You go up into the 360 position, holding it here. We're going to go round, straight into the 10 to 2, front position. Down. Ooh. Now in the beginning, it can be beneficial to keep your eyes on the head of the weight, so you can see where it's coming in. See here, I can see where it is. I can see it's in relation just over my shoulder, a couple of inches over. See where it is. Because if you can see the weight, you're aware of where it is and what it's doing. Another important point to make is imagine that in front and behind you, it's a pane of glass. This is quite a common theme, common terminology. Because some people, especially in the beginning, when they use their maces, gada, they'll take it and they'll swing it behind them. This is wrong because you're sending the weight that way. You need to be sending the weight left and right, not behind you. Again, it's a fear-based instinct reaction. You want to throw it, oh, and you shock up. That's incorrect technique. By focusing on imagining there's a pane of glass in front and behind you, you can't go wrong. You can only travel between the pane of glass. If you go in front of it or behind it, you're out of sync and out of kink. So to illustrate the point, you come up, you come around, and imagine you have to stay tight. The best way to do this is to train in a very small room or where there's lots of valuable objects. Anything breakable, because then you have to concentrate. If you're in a big, nice space, it doesn't matter, you can just bail out. The best way I discovered to figure this out was by training in very cramped conditions, and that wasn't by choice, that was through necessity. So using the pane of glass analogy, if you've got clients or for your own training, it's a great way to make sure that your technique is on par. Now, a few points on the grip whilst I'm here. When you're coming up, you come down, your grip will be slightly open. I'll come a bit closer. You'll see my hands, it's really only my index finger and possibly the middle finger which have any hold on the handle. My thumb is loosely tucked. This hand has a much more open, but all my fingers are holding onto it. The thumb is locked around it. In the rear position, I tend to have both hands more or less clasped, but not firm. You can see there. And through the swing itself, lightly holding. I'm not doing this death grip that everyone seems to be enjoying doing. This just fatigues you, a light grip. I generally find, even when I'm doing higher repetition work with the gada, that my grip is the last thing to give out. It's because you learn how to manipulate your hands. You're not clinging on for dear life. If you're clinging on for dear life, it's too heavy. Use a lighter weight, build up to it. Your hands should almost be sticking, like a tree frog, just adhering to this. Grip shouldn't be the issue. My bamboo pole here, maybe over an inch and a bit in diameter. The ones in India are even smaller, and I found this a massive challenge to hold because they were so small. I couldn't understand why they were so small, but it's because they adhere their hands to the grip. Using a thicker grip, that's good if you want to train your grip specifically, but for this kind of work, I don't believe it's necessary. That's not what you're trying to train. Grip is part of it, but mostly it's the shoulder movement. Moving diagonally across your body, again, as if you're throwing. That's where this exercise came from, to replicate throwing and warfare. Coming diagonal, diagonal, and see my head comes down, and put my arms diagonally down, whoop, diagonally down in front of me. My body should be moving as well. Now to illustrate the point, I'm going to use a heavier weight. Now this one here, this one's 15 kilograms. This one here is 25 kilograms. Now I have to use my body now. If I stay rigid like this, the weight's going to go, my spine's going to twist, my back's going to go. That's not good. An important point I noted in India that the guys told me, you have to keep your back stable. If you're twisting and turning, that's bad. You can have a little bit of a twist, but not too much. It's more of a crunch. As you come down, crunch. And that becomes more obvious with the heavier weight. And with the heavier weight, the technique doesn't change. It just becomes more emphasized. With the lighter weight, you don't have to really focus too much. This, you have to pay more attention to what you're doing. So you come down, low stance, grab it underhand, coming up overhand, come down. So, 25 kg, it's not very heavy, but you'll see, like, have to add some sway into it. I look down, I was told to look down. This is an important point. By looking down, you're hunching down. Like a throw, I'm coming down. I want to send the weight into the ground. By looking where I'm going, I'm focusing on sending the weight in that direction. That's where I'm putting the weight. Initially, you're looking up. This is more for control. But once you master it, start looking down. And start hunkering down more as well. We don't want this upright torso. That's no good. It's not functional, dare I say. Being down like this, when you're fighting someone, you're grappling, you're not grappling like this. You're not throwing like this. You're coming in, doing your, oh, here's a likely fellow. You grab him, you send him over, using your whole body, not just the upper body. What's the point in that? There is no point in that. I hope that this exercise gets used the way it should be used. This has been a 10 to 2. There's going to be more information coming up later on this. So stay tuned and may the power be with you.